And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Jake Lyman here with you on this Wednesday morning. Hope everybody's off to a fabulous start this morning. And as already evidenced, Joe, by your personal text line and our actual text line, no better way to start off the show than Luke Bryan bringing in the national anthem. Shout out to Luke.
People get really excited when that comes on. That's like people request that all the time. They're like, of all the anthems that I could hear, that would be my choice.
Bring me the Luke Bryan anthem.
Yes,
it's beautiful.
He needs to do a duet with Miss Piggy at some point with that.
Hey, big week for Luke Bryan and all these country music people. I think the CMA Awards are tonight, which is why the Predators always go on the road for 2 weeks in November. So
yeah,
shout out to them.
Yeah. Good times. Maybe
he'll begin the show by singing the anthem. How about that?
They should start that every way with that.
How we doing?
Doing fine. Katie, who's coming back in today from out of town, sent me I just cannot get away from this stuff, but apparently there's a John Hamm, Jimmy Fallon recreation of With Arms Wide Open.
I think I saw a clip from this the other day. Yes.
How exciting, man. Creed is just
it's really making a cultural comeback.
Yeah. No, it's what we need as a society, to heal. I think it'll really make a big difference in everyone's lives.
Yeah, just keep it coming.
Yeah.
Keep it coming, more of it. Jake Lyman, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing good. A little tired, but we're making it through.
Jake's normal wake-up time, he said 7:30 to 8, somewhere in that neighborhood. Today, 4:50. A little bit of an adjustment.
Jake is nimble. I need to ask you, Jake, about Michaela Blakes. How good is she? I haven't been able to.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
She scored 14 points in her first quarter of collegiate basketball.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, she's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hampton and Sanford the rest of the week, so we might see some more fireworks from
them. Yeah. Pad those stats.
Pad them up. Speaking of stats, you see Dalton Connect last night?
No.
Put up 37.
Whoa, 37?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Turns out that letting him slide down to the Lakers may not have been a great decision by a lot of NBA general managers.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember now. There are a few teams during the draft where I'm like, yeah, you should have taken him. And I know there was talk about, well, what? He's a little older.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a little older. Have you watched him play basketball?
37 points, 9 of 12 from 3.
My goodness. Good for him.
I think it's going to work out okay for old Dalton Connect. The college football playoff rankings are out, the latest edition. And Joe, if you're a casual sports fan or if you're a Tennessee fan that really haven't been paying that much attention so far to the college football playoff rankings because you knew that, the last few weeks you were going to be in, it was just kind of a matter of where. Last night, I saw this happen on Vol Twitter a little bit. I guess people kind of really paying attention to it for the first time. And the rankings themselves come out and you say, okay, Ole Miss at 9, Georgia at 10. Boom, Tennessee at 11. They're in, baby. All right, Tennessee's in there.
Yeah.
And then the bracket comes out and Tennessee is, in fact, not in the 12-team college football playoff. They're the first team out. BYU in at number 12, which, by the way, BYU in the Big 12 has now been passed by Boise State. Congratulations to Boise State for a top 4 seed at the moment. But Tennessee, the first team out of the college football playoff bracket projection, they are number 11 in the rankings. Your reaction, Joe, to the Tennessee Vols being out of the college football playoff at the moment?
Yeah, that's what I expected. I think I had it a little different. I had them like 10, but still out because of the two behind them, and the one I thought would happen were the ACC and Big 12 autos. So not surprised. I think it's you look through the order of the SEC teams, and the only thing that surprised me on the SEC front, well, I continue to be curious about Texas at 3. Texas again, their best win is at Vanderbilt, which is a solid win this year, but that's their best win.
Yeah.
They did blow out Michigan on the road for whatever that's worth, but it's not worth that much anymore. And Georgia punked them on their own field, and they're 3. I still can't quite, but that's consistent. They just keep coming in 3 every week.
They do.
Miami also is overranked. And I'm a little curious, and Ward Manuel actually mentioned the Mercer win, the big win over Mercer for Bama.
He's got
with
to stop talking.
with the 3 spot. Well, it's just he's just going to say some words. And they're going to ask him some questions. Like, yeah, well, there's reasons, and please can we end the teleconference? But Alabama jumping 3 spots is a little bit weird. So, but where Tennessee is, I mean, look, I think it was ESPN. I think ESPN right now still has them at 86% to make the field.
Yeah.
So, to me, I look at this situation, and there are a lot of ways this could change. We've talked about some of the upsets. There's a lot of rooting interest in different games. Army beating Notre Dame, Florida beating Ole Miss. We know Texas and Texas A&M are playing, so that's going to clear things up a little bit in some way. But I do think that the likelihood is that 10-2 Tennessee and 11-1 Indiana end up getting compared to each other for the last at-large spot. I mean, That is, if you go with odds lines, that's probably how it ends up. And so, again, to me, of all the things you could root for if you're a Vols fan, you are a Buckeye. You are OHIO on Saturday and hope they run them off the field.
Well, a couple things. Yes. I think, first off, my initial reaction is this. If Tennessee takes care of business in their next 2 games, I mean, UTEP is what it is. But if they're able to come here and beat Vanderbilt and they get to 10-2, I still like their chances of getting in. I think they've got a decent shot to get in if they win these next 2 games. And this weekend, we could be sitting here next week and have some clarity on that potentially, because if you're a Tennessee fan, I think you need to be rooting for Ohio State to beat Indiana by about 35 on Saturday. Like, you want Ohio State to absolutely crush Indiana, and you want Ole Miss to lose. Like, you're a big Florida Gator fan coming up on Saturday in that nice 11 a.m. start in Gainesville between Ole Miss and Florida. Now, I think Ole Miss is a double-digit favorite in that. I don't have high confidence that Florida is going to beat them. But Florida is playing a little bit better than they were earlier in the year, and we'll see. And they've got their quarterback back for this game with Lagway, so we'll see what that ends up meaning. But those are 2 things, kind of in the immediate, that you'll be rooting for if you're a Tennessee fan. It continues. The other reason I have confidence, Joe, that if you go 10-2, you'll probably get in, is because committee just changes what they're talking about every week. I mean, this is another example. Like Alabama, and I saw Brett McMurphy tweet this last night. And it's not just Miami, but so Miami, who, by the way, I just don't know is all that good. But last week they were ranked ahead of Alabama. Miami didn't play this last week. Alabama beat Mercer. And apparently that was enough for the committee to look at it and say, well, Alabama beat Mercer, so we got to put them ahead of Miami now. Like, it just changes every week, and it's pretty fun.
Which, again, they vote individually. So someone says the one thing I would say, first of all, Ward Manuel never should have mentioned Mercer. I mean, does the Georgia win look a little better? I guess, like, Alabama beat Georgia. Georgia just beat Tennessee. So the Georgia win gains value, I guess. But I mean, Tennessee beat you. And that's the funny thing about the SEC. But yes,
wouldn't that win gain value at that point? I don't know.
Yeah. Again, this is Ward Man. There are people in there that probably just do their own thing and just
I miss the BCS.
Decide. Yeah.
I'm not
the
joking.
BCS computers.
Yeah.
Boy, the BCS would be interesting this year with this
would.
field. My goodness. That'd be really interesting. I guess we'd be talking about the possibility of Oregon and Ohio State playing and then playing for 3 times maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be fun with the old BCS.
Why not?
Yeah, but yeah, again, Ward Manuel is explaining things that aren't all agreed upon by the committee.
Yeah.
They're just voted on anonymously by the committee.
Yeah.
So it's what it is.
I understand what he's doing. I understand he's in a bad spot. It just the more he talks, the more I think everybody just throws their hands up and says, so this is just totally random.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's just totally random.
Yeah, like they discuss all this stuff, and then he looks at the results and says, oh, really? That's what we're doing? Well, hi, everybody. What questions do you have? Let me see if I can not answer them.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We're off and running today on the program. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us later in the program. to discuss all things Tennessee Titans. So looking forward to that coming up a little bit later in the show. The choice is yours with Joe Rexrode at 6:30. So looking forward to that as well. I'll take more of your reaction to the college football playoff rankings. Tennessee currently out of the college football playoff. We'll take your reaction to that. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts, your reaction to the college football playoff rankings that were out last night. Tennessee, number 11 in the rankings, but out in the playoff bracket, which really at the end of the day, the bracket is what matters. But we'll see how it goes, how it changes as they move forward here. I was looking at the bracket right now, Joe. I was talking to you over the break. Shout out to Ohio State at as the 5 seed right now, who currently their first 2 games, if they're able to take down the mighty BYU team, who's the 5-12 matchup right now, they get Boise State in the second round. So shout out to the Buckeyes for the way this is all lining up right now.
Yeah, they wouldn't even get to them. They wouldn't even get
Maybe
to
not.
them.
Maybe not.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
It's not a bad draw for them at the moment. Look, a couple things on this that I think are really interesting. Georgia fans are mad that they're not higher up in the rankings based on their schedule, right? So they've had the toughest schedule in America. They have a really good win against Tennessee last week. They've beaten Texas. So that's 2 pretty darn good wins for Georgia. Now they also have 2 losses, granted, to Alabama and Ole Miss, who are also in the field. So do you think Georgia is slotted too low in this? What do you make of the barking, pun intended, from Georgia fans about where they're slotted right now in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I mean it's tough because they have, again, what is the best win? Is it, I mean, if Texas is, Texas is number 3, again, I think that's just a weird one. But it's like you can't keep complaining week after week. So it wasn't like a big thing this week. Last week it was like, how? And but they continue to be 3. They're 3 again. Georgia went in and thumped them on their field. Georgia's schedule number 1.
Yeah,
and they are the example of, everybody's like, the SEC stuff is like, yeah, well, way different schedules for different teams, but they got a tough draw.
they did.
So, yeah, but I get to me, it's like if it's close, I get like why they'd be still behind Ole Miss, because Ole Miss beat them. They beat Tennessee. They're ahead of Tennessee, but obviously head to head gets blown up a lot.
So you know what that's going to lead to is Vols fans yelling at you about Tennessee beating Alabama.
Sure. Yeah. I get that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Bama, of course, Bama lost to Vanderbilt, lost to Tennessee. Now, Bama, the blowout win at LSU was impressive, but that's the thing, too. Now, LSU lost to Florida.
That's right. We got to quit acting like LSU is good.
Well, that's the thing.
They're not good.
Yeah, so the next week, LSU loses to Florida. So if we're talking about wins gaining or losing value, you would think actually that, again, Alabama wouldn't jump from that, right?
Yeah.
But they did. So but I think all those teams, and another thing you hear, and I get it, is people saying, wow, so 4 of the top 5 teams are in the Big Ten. Is that right?
Yeah.
And the SEC is all down here, other than Texas, which is the one I wouldn't put up there, is all down here, and that's fair. I mean, it's just so different leagues. Like the Big Ten has 4 teams and then nothing.
Yeah.
And the SEC is a much deeper league with, to me, a lot more like good teams, But they beat up on each other.
Well, it's going to be interesting if A&M, and I still think Texas is probably going to beat A&M, but we'll see. If A&M beats Texas, that's going to make this really interesting. Chris Vanini, friend of the show, was talking about this last night, and I think his tweet was something to the effect of, what people aren't talking about yet is what happens if A&M beats Texas. Could they go from 3 to out of the field? Which I think is possible, and I think, resume-wise, they probably should at that point. Having said that, this committee loves them some Texas. I mean, it's pretty clear. Ward Manuel got up there last night and was talking about, they got top 5 defense. They got a really explosive offense. When they were asked about, the lack of big wins for Texas. We got a text on our text line talking about, I'm not sure if you guys brought this up yet, but how is Arkansas a good win for Texas and a bad loss for Tennessee? Like they flashed that graphic up on ESPN last night.
What they said,
good wins.
Yeah, notable wins, right? But that's the thing. That's it's a fair thing to bring up, but also like that is for them a notable win. That's why they shouldn't be 3.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
Yeah,
but no, you absolutely. I think they could fall out.
But I'll tell you this: I'm just here to tell you. I think there are some Tennessee fans that believe, oh, well, good. Well, Texas A&M could just beat Texas, and then Tennessee's in. A&M's at 15. They
Right.
ain't that far behind. If
Yeah.
they beat Texas, I don't think it's going to be just as simple as, well, now Texas is out, Tennessee's in, and Texas A&M, thanks for playing. We'll see you later.
Right. Texas A&M would then absolutely, they'd probably be in going into championship week. And
Right.
then so the SEC championship game is probably then Texas A&M against Alabama.
Yeah.
And one of them is taking a third loss. And that's where it's like, if Alabama takes a third loss, first of all, then Texas A&M obviously they're a top 4 seed, right?
Yeah.
The winner of that is a top 4 seed. I think the loser that's out. I think the winner that's a top 4 seed and the loser that's out, and there's going to be people all kind of screaming about that too. But you can't tell me. Right now, I'm fine with Alabama being ahead Tennessee. But if Alabama takes a third loss and Tennessee beat them, no, I'm sorry, but Tennessee's in over Alabama.
I would assume so.
It's probably easier. It's probably an easier sell if it's the other way. If Bama wins, gets the auto, and then I think Tennessee would compare favorably to Texas A&M, and they'd get it.
I would think so.
Yeah, with the third loss, and A&M again, they got blown out by South Carolina. Which again, South Carolina is a ranked team; it's a good team, but yeah, I think so. Tennessee would still have the worst loss, but they'd have one less loss, and they'd have a win over Alabama.
Right.
And look, a win over Vanderbilt. They're not a top 25 team, but if they go and look good here and beat Vanderbilt, that helps for sure.
No doubt. They have to win both these games for sure. It would also help them if they won convincingly against Vanderbilt. UTEP is kind of its own thing. Although, heck, committee valued the Alabama win over Mercer.
Well,
so
I
just
guess.
go.
Sure.
I told you yesterday, if Tennessee could hang up 85 on UTEP, just go try to do that this weekend if you're Josh Heupel. Maybe that gets people talking a little bit on that committee.
You may as well.
Just give it a shot. Sorry, UTEP. Got some things we got to do here.
Sorry, gas pipe. You're not going in yet. We'll put you in at the end, gas pipe.
Great nickname.
Yeah.
The conference championship part of this, not only this year, but as they continue to move forward in this thing, is going to be really interesting. Lane Kiffin got out there, I guess it was Monday, and started talking about we're 2 losses. I don't know if the risk of playing in the conference championship game is really worth it when it comes to the college football playoff. And it's like, well, I think you might be right there, Lane. It's going to be really interesting to see what that looks like with the college football playoff and how they view that. There's going to be some teams, whether it's this year or not, but it very well could be this year, that are pretty squarely in the college football playoff when conference championship weekend rolls around, that lose in the title game. And I'm interested to see what the committee does with that.
Yeah, well, look, there's no world. We are not changing, because this already has happened, where teams have been penalized, for losing, and they've gone from maybe playing, either playing for a championship or playing in a top bowl game to plummeting, and someone passing them who sat there. That's happened a lot already. Yeah. It's not going to change you. It's a risk. It's a risk, but it is a reward. Look, I've been talking about getting rid of the conference championship games. I still believe they should. Now, I understand then if you have auto bids, and now we're going to do auto bids over the tiebreakers of 7-way tie. That's fun too. By the way, the Big Ten just realized yesterday, they told our Scott Docterman Saturday night, it's still we're not sure yet if Oregon's in. And then yesterday they're like, oh crap, we actually messed up. Oregon is in the Big Ten. Yeah, congrats, Oregon. You're in the Big Ten championship game. Yeah. 3 days later, they realized that their own tiebreakers, they didn't know what was going on. And so now Oregon is, and it's so that's what you would be talking about if you don't have championship games. But I just, you could get rid of the championship games and get it to 16, and have another, that's what I would do. But the problem is,
let's get a 32.
The problem with all of it is leagues that are 94 teams big.
Yes.
That's really the problem with all of it. It's just unwieldy.
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Ken. Ken, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Good, man.
Why is it automatically a win for Tennessee when they play Vanderbilt?
Oh, I don't think it's automatically a win.
Well, everybody's saying, they'll make it if Tennessee does this or does that, but they never talk about the Vanderbilt game. The same type people were saying the same thing when we played Alabama. when we played Kentucky, when we played Auburn. I mean, it's just, yeah, I know in the past Vanderbilt has not been that good, but we actually got a pretty decent team this year.
We are in total agreement with you.
We totally agree.
We're talking hypothetically. If Tennessee wins, they have to win to get in. But yeah, the Vanderbilt.
Well, and I'm not necessarily even saying it's y'all. I mean, it's just all the Tennessee fans and everybody's just mainly overlooking Vanderbilt because they're Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And Alabama did that, and I'm gonna tell you, the game that we played against Alabama, we beat them on both sides of the ball. It wasn't a fluke. We beat them.
No doubt about it. Thanks for the call, kid.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. I mean, look, I don't
quit overlooking Vanderbilt, Robbie.
Yeah, I mean, I am under
bulletin board material.
I am under no illusion that Tennessee walking into Vanderbilt and playing against that quarterback that they have over there is going to be some walk in the park. Like I don't think it's going to be that way. And quite frankly, I don't know that Tennessee's offense is good enough to make it that way. Like I don't know if Tennessee's offense is good enough for them to just roll in here and destroy Vanderbilt. So no, like I'm not discounting that as a possibility at all.
I'm geeked for that game. I am geeked. I think it can be a good one.
615-737-1025. Now, having said that, Tennessee is going to be favored in that game. It should be favored in that game. So they got to win that game. I mean, if they don't win that game, then all this, we can stop talking about it because they're not getting in at that point. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have The Choice Is Yours with Joe Rexrode coming up next, taking more of your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
of choices to make. Like right now. It's The Choice Is Yours, now on Robby and Rexrode.
It is time for The Choice Is Yours here on Robby and Rexrode. 2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions. Joe Rexrode in the chair this week. Joseph, the floor is yours.
All right, sports or non-sports?
Non-sports.
Non-sports. Okay. If you could live on a beach for the rest of your life, which is what I would choose, which beach?
Man, that's a great one. I went to this beach in Grand Cayman that was outstanding. The water was beautiful. I turned around. There was an iguana on a tree right above me, just looking at me like, man, isn't this the life? I said, yes, it is the life. I think the beach in Grand Cayman would be where I'd be.
That sounds pretty awesome.
It was pretty nice.
Jake Lyman?
Oh, that's tough. I'd probably go somewhere in Florida. But you could get me to like the Outer Banks. That's where I went a lot on vacation as a kid. So I'll go with that. Outer Banks, like
Outer
Nag's
Banks?
Head. I think that's probably my pick.
Yeah. Okay. Those are good too. Yeah. I thought of this just because the greatest assignment in sports is next week.
Yeah, I knew where you were
And
going
our
with it.
Brendan Marks is heading there too, by the way. Good for him. Maui. It's got to be Maui. And I know obviously tough scene there, but it's pretty hard to beat for anybody who's been to the beaches of Maui. My goodness. All right, sports. You're the Titans GM, and you get this choice with your first round pick: a great right tackle, a great edge rusher, or the quarterback who will have the best career of the class. What are you taking?
That's a loaded one because the quarterback who had the best career of the class could be like Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
I mean, that really depends entirely on your class.
Who's going to be the best one of 22?
Yeah. That's
Malik Willis?
Malik. I think Titans fans are going to hate my answer, but I think it's the one I have to give. I think I have to go right tackle. And that would be the Titans drafting another tackle high in a draft. But I think that's got to be my answer. I know that people would be tempted by quarterback. I'm just not huge on this quarterback class as we sit here today. And quite frankly, I think the best of the class might not end up being all that good. So I got to go right tackle because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you on not going quarterback because this class feels a lot closer to, like you said, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder than it does Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, even Baker Mayfield in that draft. I'll go edge rusher.
Okay.
I think you just can't use another first-round pick on a tackle. And I know Jared might be out there punching air hearing that, but you've used
It's part of his workout.
You've used so many high picks on a tackle. Maybe use your second or you don't have a third. Your second-round pick on a tackle, but you need an elite edge rusher to put on the other side from Harold Landry.
There's no doubt.
I'll go edge.
They need edge.
Yeah, I'm also edge. Now, you know, if you tell me it's like Penei Sewell, then I'll change, but that's still, I'm vague here with great right tackle. I think a great edge rusher, a little bit higher value.
I would agree.
It's close, though.
But I'm tired
close.
of talking about how bad Titans offensive line is. So whatever I can do to shore that up, I'm doing it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. Okay, non-sports. What state have you not been to that you would like most to go to?
I think my answer is Montana.
Interesting.
I'd love to go.
That's
to
also
Montana.
on my list.
Really? Montana.
Of states I haven't been to. Not that I want to go to, but yeah.
No, I think
you go off though.
Some of the Instagram reels of the spots I see in Montana look outstanding. So Montana is my answer. Colorado was on there, and then I went this past weekend.
There you go. You knocked it off.
Knocked one off list.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been to California, but I will be getting there in about 5 days.
Oh, nice.
We're playing our holiday tournament out there in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
So I won't include that. I'll say Hawaii. You
one.
mentioned Maui. I think that's probably the top of my list is where I want to go. I'm not sure when that'll happen, but I'd like to go to Hawaii.
Yeah. So my list is Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, New Mexico, Maine, and Alaska. And I'm going to pick
I was
Alaska.
about to say that should be your answer.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Alaska. I'm not like, dying to get there, but like I've heard like the cruise thing, the Alaskan cruise.
I
is
did.
kinda cool.
I've done the
You've
Alaskan
that?
cruise. Yeah, I did
Worthwhile?
that a few years ago with my family. Yeah, it was really fun. Very different from like a Caribbean cruise. It's
Right.
less of a like sit out on the pool deck and
Yeah.
and relax.
Freeze.
It
but
feels great out here.
it's like 50 degrees tops every single day. But
Yeah.
it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Not a big North Dakota guy.
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I like South Dakota fine. I'm sure North Dakota is also fine.
When did you end up in South Dakota?
It really looks like driving through.
Okay.
Not like going there.
Was it intentional?
No, yeah. It's just like I've been to Idaho to have
In Mount Rushmore in South Dakota?
Coeur d'Alene. Yeah, I did not go to Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
That would be cool. And I ended up in Idaho one time in Coeur d'Alene just to get a hamburger. So, so being in some of these states is like it's been like technically, but
I've been to New Hampshire. I've been in the
Right.
Manchester, New Hampshire airport because I was supposed to land at LaGuardia, and the airplane in front of me slid off the runway, so we had to go land and spend like 4 hours at Manchester.
knock another one off
So
the
I've
list.
been there.
There you go.
Yeah.
You knocked it off the list.
Yeah.
All right, sports. You're the Titans GM again, and you're going veteran QB next season, and you have an opportunity for these three for one of these three players. Which are you choosing? Aaron Rodgers, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins. 2-year deal with obviously a trade with Cousins.
2-year deal?
And the Jets, actually.
2-year deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll say you extend. I think because what is Cousins on with the Falcons?
I think he's a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I guess you're signing up for 3. All right. You're signing up for 3 years for these guys. Let's change the question.
Okay. I think, you know what? Screw it. Entertainment value. Give me Rodgers. I get Rodgers in here. I'll operate under the same theory with him that I do all these other people we've talked about that have gone in and out of the Jets organization. It's the Jets. It's not them. I'm going Rodgers even at 41 years old. Bring him back into the Titans and a nice 1 or 2 year resurgence to close things out here.
Okay.
Give me A-Rod.
I can't go Rodgers. I'll go Darnold because you wouldn't have to give up a draft pick for him, and there's no drama there. You bring him in if he's not going to be anything better than
Bring some of the drama. That's
good, and you could move on from him after a year. I'll go Darnold.
I know where you're
going.
going.
Cousins.
Yeah.
There we go. We got 3 different answers. Captain Kirk, bring him. Turn this franchise.
You'd
around,
give Kirk a
Captain
10-year deal right now.
Absolutely.
You'd be like, Kirk, you play as long as you want to play here with the Tennessee Titans.
8, maybe 8.
Okay, I can see that.
Did you see, by the way, the Rossini report on Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson?
No.
So Woody Johnson apparently in an intense meeting said that they need to bench him.
Oh, good. It didn't take very long.
Yeah. His best friend. And he may not be wrong.
May not be. I mean, benching for who would be my guess or my question, but who's their backup?
Tyrod
Taylor?
Yeah, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah,
man.
why not?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going well over there.
It's going real nicely at that place. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Preds Pick to Click. Coming up next, we got Kuharski in the 8 o'clock hour, so moving up. Preds Pick to Click today. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025. If you guess a goal scorer for the Predators tonight, you win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do that. We'll get into some NFL headlines, of which the New York Jets are included, coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And the shot of the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are preferred so often. It's Pick to Click now on Robby and Rexrode.
Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds in action tonight, taking on the Seattle Kraken. It'll be a late one. I'll have your pregame at 8 o'clock pregame tonight for the Predators and the Kraken coming up.
Fun morning tomorrow.
It could be really interesting for me in the morning. We'll see how that goes. The standings in the competition, no change. Last time out on Friday, Preds got shut out by the Calgary Flames. So Rexrode remains in first place with 5 correct answers. The listeners, Nick Keyser / today Jake Lyman, myself, all tied with 1. So some catching up to do in the competition here as it relates to Preds Pick to Click. With that in mind, let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Brian. Brian, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
Good morning, guys.
Good
I'm
morning.
rolling with Philip Forsberg to light the lamp this evening.
Going with Forsberg. Brian, thanks for the pick. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
So Forsberg on the board for Brian. Joe Rexrode, you're up next. Your pick to click for the Nashville Predators.
We'll go Stamkos.
Starting to heat up.
Yep.
2 goals last time out.
Yep.
2 nice wrist shots on the power play. So Stamkos, the selection there. Jake Lyman, Forsberg, and Stamkos off the board. Your pick to click for the Nashville Predators tonight.
Give me pretty boy Vincenzo, Luke Evangelista.
I like it. Luke Evangelista, the selection. I will go Ryan O'Reilly. I think I got a feeling Ryan O'Reilly finds the net tonight on the power play. So Forsberg, Stamkos, Evangelista, O'Reilly, the selections in Preds Pick to Click. Big one for the Preds tonight. They looked good on Sunday against Vancouver. Would be nice to close out the road trip tonight with a win. So we'll see if they can do that against the Seattle Kraken. Joe, still no news on Doug Peterson down there in Jacksonville, so I guess he's going to make it through this week at least. Joe Douglas fired yesterday by the New York Jets, so they have now fired their head coach in Robert Saleh and their general manager in Joe Douglas. You brought up some reporting that's gone on behind the scenes there. An absolute tire fire with the New York Jets. You're looking at the landscape in the NFL right now, and we don't know for sure. This could be a pretty darn busy offseason as it relates to head coach openings and in some cases some general manager openings as well. But is Zach Taylor safe in Cincinnati? I don't know. Kevin Stefanski, I think, is a really good coach. The Browns are 2-8. Is he safe in Cleveland? Jacksonville, I think we all feel like Doug Peterson probably going to get fired at the end of the year. You have the Raiders. I think that could be an opening at the end of the year as well. You're looking at the Giants. I think both general manager and head coach could have an opening at the end of the year. They've decided to go with Tommy DeVito as their starting quarterback. So great football in New York. It's being played out there right now.
Tyrod Taylor, Tommy DeVito.
Yeah. As everybody predicted.
Let's do it.
There's the Bears with Eberflus. What's that going to look like at the end of the year? Saints' job is already open. I mean, I don't think Carolina is going to make another move at this point, so I think he's probably safe. But you never really know with them. And then I guess that's it. But that's a lot right there that we just kind of rattled off that could be open at the end of the year. Some interesting decisions coming up for these organizations. And by the way, we didn't even mention the Tennessee Titans, who I don't know that I'm convinced that there won't be an opening at either GM or head coach, but we'll see as it relates to them.
What's your percentage? I mean, I continue to be whatever. What did I say? 2-point-something%? Is that what I said? 2?
I think you got
weird,
to 3
like
at one point.
Did I get up to 3%?
I think you did.
Okay.
At some point.
Aren't you like 38% or something like that?
I was at 20-something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I may be at 30.
Okay.
I'll go 30.
All right. I guess we can do.
I'm kind of going specifically GM on that one.
Okay.
I still find it very unlikely that the head coach is going to get fired.
I would tend to agree. So you're looking at continued different timelines with that situation. Yeah. In theory. And of course there's a lot of talk Actually, I mentioned Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt talking about this Woody Johnson contentious meeting with Woody Johnson
Yes.
after the Denver loss, in which he said that they should they should bench Rodgers. The coaches were stunned, along with Douglas, stunned, talked him out of it. But there's a lot of talk also about, of course, Mike Vrabel, and in particular with the idea, I think the Lions are part of this. You know, it's like there's two kinds of coaches, right? It's like you have the whiz kid offensive, like the OC play calling head coach, which of course the Titans just signed up for.
Yep.
And then you have the quote culture building head coach. But Dan Campbell is the example, right, of the big former player, everybody loves them, and look at what they're doing. And there's other obviously good examples. I mean, basically, I guess more like defensive guys. I mean, like DeMeco Ryans is a guy in Houston who's done very well. So that would tend to favor it. So now that's more in vogue. I guess like year to year you bounce back and forth. But Vrabel's going to get a job.
I would think Vrabel's going to get a job. By the way, gross oversight on my part too, as I was rattling off all these different jobs. I'll also throw the Dallas Cowboys in there too, because Mike McCarthy is going to get fired at the end of the year.
That will be open. Yeah, and is that going to be, like is Belichick? I mean, I guess it sounds like Belichick. It's kind of unfortunate because I kind of like Belichick doing the Manning thing and everything, but is that going to be? Is Jerry going to hand everything over to him?
I don't know. Is that a good idea? I mean, it's probably not a good idea to have Jerry running it, as we've continued to find out.
I'd rather have Belichick than Jerry.
I'd probably rather have Belichick than Jerry too. But I will say, like, I mean, beyond the obvious of not having Tom Brady as your quarterback, there were other reasons that it started to kind of fall apart.
No, he was not a good
Belichick
GM
at the end of it. Not very good.
As a GM, he was pretty brutal in the last few years. Yeah.
Somebody says, hot take on the New York Jets. Bill Belichick will be the next GM and Vrabel will be their coach. I don't know if there's enough money in the world to get Belichick to go over to the Jets. He despises the Jets.
I mean,
he got on national TV
a lot of history
a couple
there.
Weeks ago and just ripped him on the middle of the Manning cast. It was awesome.
And that's the thing. I think because of that also, like I don't think either side will have anything to do with each other. I mean, I'm here for that, but I don't think so. And I don't think Belichick's going back to just be a GM, is he?
I don't think so.
I think he's going back to
look,
a coach.
To be quite frank with you, I hope he doesn't go back at all, because I really enjoy him and what he's doing right now. But I understand that. I do think the all-time wins record is important to him.
Yeah.
I have no basis for that, for why that is the case. But
when you're that close,
a lot of people seem to believe that's the case.
Yeah, when you're that close, how could you not? So if you can find a good situation, be selective, and a place where you can win. Again, like Harbaugh went and he's like, yeah, you know what, that quarterback, and it's still a pretty good roster. Yeah, I mean, so what is that choice? I don't know. But also, like, again, it's like it didn't feel like there was a lot of momentum for Belichick a year ago, and obviously we thought Vrabel was going to get a job and didn't, and I think they're both going to now. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, Ben Johnson from Detroit probably going to end up somewhere in this cycle, so we'll see what that looks like. And look, think about Belichick wherever he ended up. Think about the value he could now bring to the social media team there too, between him getting on Instagram and playing Duck Duck Deuce and making all these TikToks with his girlfriend.
Did you say Duck Duck Deuce?
Did I say Duck Duck Deuce?
That's a new
Even
one.
better. Duck Duck Goose with his girlfriend and all these TikToks that he's making. It's kind of a different Bill Belichick walking in the door up there.
Less time for patty cake, but yes.
Duck Duck Deuce.
There's a lot of ways you can
a game
go with that
sweeping the nation. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll get into the Titans coming up next, including one member of the Titans that I'm starting to ask myself, man, so how good is this guy? We'll get into it coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Jake Lyman here with you on this Wednesday morning. We'll have Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com with us a little bit later in the program. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. I believe Rexrode was nice to him on Friday, so I think he's going to show up today.
Yeah. I mean, I just basically tried to play traffic cop as he and Jared smashed brains. That was something else. Yeah, we were
sorry
fine.
I missed it.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it might be worth you going back and checking it out, man.
Might have to. Might have to.
It's interesting.
Looking forward to PK being on the program a little bit later in the show. So, Joe, people are talking. People are talking about your guy, NWI. And they flashed up that stat, and I can't remember who had it on Sunday, but the main point of it was like there's all these wide receivers in the league that NWI has more touchdowns than this year. I think it included like A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, among others, on Sunday as he scored his 98-yard touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. And it's got me wondering, how good is this guy? Like, one of the most amazing parts about this season? The first 4 games, the Titans did not target NWI one time. He did not get a single target through the first 4 games of the season. And then, out of necessity, he had to get on the field when Burks went down. Obviously, when Hopkins got traded away, his role increased as well. And since then, he's been playing very well. Now, look, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's been like this game breaker for them because, the 98-yarder obviously is the highlight. And that takes his numbers on Sunday to 2 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. Other than that, it's been 3 for 31 against the Chargers, 2 for 39 against Detroit, 2 for 10 against Buffalo. He had 5 for 50 against the Patriots. So while some of those are good games and good numbers, particularly in the role that he's playing, nobody's confused him for wide receiver 1 out there. So I get all that. But he does have 5 touchdown catches on 15 receptions this year.
That's
Did
pretty
just
good.
put up 117 yards. Did have the 98-yarder where he's just streaking down the field and nobody catches him. And look, I understand, you brought up some of the draft needs earlier and the choice is yours. Wide receiver is going to be one of those too. Like they're going to have to figure out at some point how to get a young, productive wide receiver in here to add to the mix here. NWI playing pretty well. Like we've always talked about him as a guy that probably is best served as like your 4. Well, he's playing better than a 4 right now for the Tennessee Titans. He looks pretty darn good out there. One of the lone bright spots for the Tennessee Titans at the moment.
No, and he's a year-to-year guy. Is he making like 1.8 this year? And I think a smart move would be to I guess it's a $2 million deal. Is that what I
believe so.
Technically, yeah, 1 year, $2 million deal. Base salary 1.8. I think a smart move would be extending him.
I agree.
Get a year or 2 extension. Look, he's a guy who's destined to move back down the depth chart when you address the position more. But I think he's improved to the point that he's a pretty good 3 in the NFL.
Pretty good.
And that's a good thing to have. And again, a guy who can move around, all the things that got him these opportunities. And Vrabel obviously loved him and talked every chance he got about basically, here's the model for what you're supposed to do as a professional athlete, like do extra stuff and be able to play every position and just go the extra mile, all that stuff. But it's just like you get better and better. You're allowed to get better in pro sports, and he looks faster to me. I don't know that he's actually faster, but he looks fast. He runs good routes. He catches the ball. He does everything. He blocks. And I think obviously he's a good guy to have around, right? I mean, a good guy to have in the room. So I think extending him would make sense. Yeah, I mean, at some point, they're going to have to, I think Traylon Burks, that's just, I don't even know where that's going, but it's not likely going to any sort of significant role again for him. I wouldn't think. And you're signed up with Ridley for sure long term. And then other than that, I mean, it's like you're gonna have to do some things at that position.
Yep.
But I would definitely want to have him around after this year.
I agree. I think he has played his way into being a reliable part of their offense moving forward. That doesn't mean you have to build around him. That doesn't mean that your offensive game plan as they move forward the rest of this year and into the future is revolving around NWI. It is kind of amazing to me that Traylon Burks was getting snaps over him at any point based on what we've seen NWI do on the field and what we've seen Traylon Burks do on the field. And I realize that there's a talent disparity there, but sometimes screw the talent, go with what happens and works on the field. Like the fact that he didn't get a single target the first 4 games of the year based on what he's done lately is pretty out. It's pretty unbelievable. Not one target.
Yeah, no, that's really, I know. No, it is. He's what they don't have a lot of spots, which is like he's a really good backup, and in this league, everybody has to, a lot of times you'll see guys who come in and it's like, gosh, that guy's been playing it all and he's pretty good. Well, that's what you hope to have in the NFL. Like I get the idea of, this Burks. I mean, this guy's like, we've got to have him in the lineup, like, right? Mm-hmm. I get the idea, but yeah. And then you watch NWI actually perform and be consistent and all that. And it's like, yeah, see, that's actually more valuable than like you said, the more talented guy, bigger, stronger, faster, all that stuff. Sometimes a pro who does the job is the better choice.
Yeah, sometimes. Michael and Madison says, I think Robbie's just a hater. We need to have the conversation about a Pro Bowl bid for NWI, possibly an All-Pro. This is from Michael and Madison on the text line. Maybe
a few more 98-yarders. He'll start working his way into the conversation.
Maybe so. The pride of the Indiana football. Indiana football getting a lot of heat today on the program.
What a year for Indiana
NWI
football.
Backing it up a little bit, baby. It's pretty good. Look, it's really impressive to watch him work every week. It really is. Like the 98-yarder is its own thing. And look, a guy fell down on the play, so I get it. But he's so reliable. Like how often do you look at it and say, well, NWI messed up on that play or NWI dropped the ball? Just it doesn't really happen, which is kind of amazing when you think back to his first camp here and how much he was dropping the football. But I mean, the guy's as reliable as it gets out there.
Yeah, it's Edward Scissorhands, and all of a sudden he's out here catching everything. I think he had like one drop this year where I was like, whoa, he dropped it. That was amazing. Do we have someone's asking for Levis praising him interview? Do we have that? Just putting Jake on the spot.
I don't think we have that.
We don't have that. Okay. There's a lot of praise. There's been a lot of praise over many years for NWI, and it is wild, like that he couldn't have worked his way in at all early, into the road in terms of getting targeted. And another thing with him is like, well, I mean, he is playing in this offense that obviously has its issues. Huge play the other day, but what would it look like if he was, in an offense with better offensive line and quarterback play?
Yeah, that's a great question. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. More coming up next on the Titans, including a move that has not been made and was not made, that the more time drags on, kind of mystifies me a little bit about the Tennessee Titans. We'll get into that coming up next. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight for Vanderbilt women's basketball. The Commodores will be at Memorial Gym taking on Hampton. Tip-off at 6:30, pregame beginning at 6:15. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Our very own Jake Lyman going to be handling that for you tonight. So looking forward to that coming up a little bit later this evening. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to our 102.5, 106.3 The Game this Saturday at 11 o'clock for our college football game of the week. Indiana taking on Ohio State, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Also, check out this week's Nashville's Best Deal. It's Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German beer, brats, giant pretzels, and more in their expansive beer hall and garden. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. By the way, one texter says, if Vrabel gets a head coaching job, may not be able to keep NWI.
Bidding war over NWI.
Vrabel's first
Watch out.
move as head coach of wherever. I got one job for you guys in the offseason. Bring me Nick Westbrook-Akine.
And Aaron,
Whatever it takes.
And Aaron Brewer.
And Aaron Brewer.
And who else? Who else were Vrabel's favorites? Those are the two
Those are
obvious
two that stand out.
favorites.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get Tannehill.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get Tannehill back out of not yet retirement.
Well, maybe so. Maybe that's what Ryan's waiting on. Just waiting for old Braves to get the next head coaching job. I'll be in there. I'll be the next quarterback.
How long is Derrick Henry's deal with the Ravens? 2-year deal?
I think 2
Okay.
years. Yeah.
Now you get the whole gang back together, man. Jonu's out there balling.
He does.
Christian
He looks good.
Fulton,
Yeah.
he can get him. He looks like he's healthy again.
Yeah.
Vrabel and Fulton seem to really get along there
I'm
at
sure.
the end.
I
That
mean,
would
get
be-
Tier
that'd be a
Tart
nice
back
reunion.
in there. Nice Vrabel Tier Tart reunion. I'm sure that'd go over well.
Tyson Brilo, he was a big fan. Vrabel.
David Long might still be out there.
David
I know they
Long?
got along.
Well, the
Yeah.
Lions actually just signed David Long to their practice squad. How about that? Because they lost one of their linebackers, so he's a Lion. But yes, you get him. Byard,
Yeah. There's a lot of ways this could go with old Vrabel. But
Lawan,
NWI would be near the top of the list.
Lawan looks like he's lost about 150 pounds, but
Taylor needs you to start eating. Come on back in there.
Slot
play left
receiver?
tackle. Yeah, maybe so. One move that has not been made by the Tennessee Titans, and I guess at this point won't be. We talked about it a little bit last week. Brian Callahan said on Monday that L'Jarius Sneed unlikely to play this week against Houston. So you're talking about a Monday press conference, and it's not even, well, we'll see if he can get back on the field and what it looks like. It's already, he's probably unlikely to play. So another week of L'Jarius Sneed looking like he's not going to be available for the Titans. I believe that's now 6 weeks, which goes even further into our question last week, Joe, about, all right, what exactly is going on here? And if you knew it was going to be this long, why did he not go on IR? And if you didn't think it was going to be this long, why is it 6 weeks into this and he doesn't appear to be anywhere close to getting back on the field? It's just, it continues to be a really weird thing with the L'Jarius Sneed right now in the quad.
yeah. Well, and there's been weeks where Brian Callahan has expressed some optimism.
Yeah.
So they definitely didn't. I mean, they definitely didn't know it was going to be this, right? I mean, based on, because like you said, he has basically zapped it this week now. So did he have a setback? Is still Billies. Little, I botched that. It's his little theory about it.
I think you executed it perfectly.
He's still a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Is the knee conspiracy? Man, does that start to come into play? I mean, I take them for their word that that's a quad, but it is just bizarre. The whole thing. So I guess setback in there. This is like was it a Dory Jackson? We kept thinking it was going to be close, and he's close, and he's close, and it's like, okay, no, he's not close.
Yeah.
And apparently, like he tweaked it
Yeah.
somewhere in there. I mean, is it something like that? I don't know what
But he
does.
hadn't been on the field,
Right.
has he?
I mean, working on the side.
Maybe.
tweaked it?
I mean, look, you can have
have no idea.
setbacks and not, necessarily be on like the side of the practice field over there working. I get that.
Right.
It's just weird. Like we're approaching now 6 weeks with a quad injury that he finished the game in with Indianapolis. And we've talked about that. Like, I realize in the middle of a football game, the adrenaline, like you can finish a game and then get to the end of it, get calmed down, and then say, oh man, that's a little bit more extensive damage done than I thought. But it's just weird that it has gone on this long. He wasn't put on IR, and it doesn't feel like he's close to coming back at this point.
No, it's weird. It's and I glad he talked last week. He seemed to really enjoy Kuharski, and peppering him with questions. And meanwhile, is Chidobe Awuzie, is he still on the team? A couple weeks ago, there was optimism about him. Brian Callahan had said something a couple weeks ago about he might be getting close, and now it's like, oh, let's just not mention his name anymore.
I don't know. It's the whole thing's weird.
Wild. I'd love to see this defense with those guys, with the whole thing together in the back end. I mean, in the meantime, Brownlee has gotten all these valuable reps, and he's good. I mean, he's a really nice addition. But what would the defense look like if they actually had those guys? I don't even know how good Awuzie is. I have no idea.
Well,
he's been good.
Well, same thing with Snead. Like how good Snead?
Well, his last time out was not great.
No,
against the Colts, it seems a long time ago. But it's just I don't have any answers. It's just a weird situation, and it's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for Brian Callahan for sure, and for Rant Carthon, because I mean this is a huge part of what he did as a solution for this team in 2024.
Well, it was funny because I was looking up some things about L'Jarius Snead earlier this week just to kind of get a better feel for how good he was last year, and just the way, the injuries obviously, but even his play on the field, like he was not playing to the level in which the Titans have paid him to be earlier this year. And the first thing I saw when I was looking this up yesterday was this. It's called the Arrowhead Addict. It's one of those fan sites for the Chiefs, and it just says Chiefs' big offseason decision looks a lot better as 2024 season progresses. Talking about the decision to move on from L'Jarius Snead. So that's going to be the talking point.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, well, good job. You fleeced the Titans. By the way, the text line has pointed out another excellent point. Jack Gibbons would also be Dr. Gibby.
I hope he's able to play football again.
Well, yeah. Gross. Yeah. Yeah, that looked tough. But he would definitely be in the Vrabel favorites crew.
Yep.
That new team. We getting the gang back together.
I got one text that says, can we get out of the Snead contract because we got fleeced? Robert says he pretty much got all his money and has no motivation to play. I mean, why would he besides pride? This from Robert on the text line. I don't know. Like, people say that a lot. Yeah. I don't generally buy into that. I'm not saying that never happens because, look, I mean, I saw Albert Hainsworth when he wanted to play. Guy was dominant. When he got his money, started to change a little bit.
Yep.
Fortunately for the Titans, that wasn't here. So it does happen, but generally speaking, that's not the case. But I'll just say the whole thing's weird. It's weird that it's gone on this long. He wasn't put on IR, and we're on the Monday of the 6th week, and the head coach is already like, yeah, he's probably not coming back this week. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I guess you put him on IR now.
I mean, yeah, like, I don't know. I'd love to see him out there because of what we talked about last week. He's a big part of the future, right? Like, you gave up a 3rd-round pick to go get him, and then you paid him. So not only now, like, look, they're 2-8. They are what they are now, but he needs to be part of the solution moving forward. And I don't know how many of those guys they have that are part of the solution as they move forward. He's got to be one with what they've given up to go get it.
No doubt. Snead and Awuzie both. Again, you'd look pretty deep and pretty good at corner next year. And someone, Mark and Paris, brings up Baker, who I was impressed with Baker and how he got in there and really contested some plays with arguably the best receiver in the league Sunday. But you could be looking pretty good at corner, and what you've done to bring those guys in particular Snead, because you gave up a 3rd, but even signing Awuzie, I mean, yeah, they both have to be.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have a little hint of them still being National Football League players.
It would
before this season ends.
It would be. Adam in Portland says the crap about Snead is complete nonsense. Everybody said Malcolm Butler sucked his first year here as well, and that we needed to cut him. He turned into a good player for us. It's a down year. Everybody sucks this year. It'll flip.
So what crap is nonsense, Adam? We're talking about him being hurt and not on the field. We're not saying he sucks.
Well,
I mean, he wasn't
referring to people saying, can we get out of the contract?
Right. Yeah. Well, okay, that's fine. And look, I think he's been good before he got hurt. He's been good. You saw it some weeks. I mean, he gave up those big plays against the Colts. It hasn't been perfect. It's never going to be perfect. He wasn't perfect with the Chiefs either, but a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts to get to on the Titans coming up next. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Tune in to Stillman and Company today from 2 to 6 for your chance to win Jelly Roll tickets for his performance at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, November 26th. Jelly Roll ticket contest supplied by Chiba Hut Subs, serving up dank food and chill vibes, now open in Donaldson. We welcome into the program Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com, here for the next hour and a half with us on the program. PK, good morning. How are you doing? What's going on?
It is a pleasure to be here. New producer, so have to hit my own button, which is uncommon for me. I just want to chime in on the Legarius Sneed. So, look, they may not have known the extent of the injury or it got worse or whatever, but people are fascinated with the idea that he has to be on IR. He has to be on IR.
Yep, I demand it.
Look, Gabe Judy
I demand
Lally,
it.
if you need to have 7 guys hurt in order for inactive list on Sunday to have a bearing on this. Gabe Judy Lolly's on the roster and did not play on Sunday. So him not being on IR is not having a bearing on them having access to the players that they need. So people have to get over this idea that him not being on IR is somehow an impediment to the team. Like, I understand your frustrations that he's not playing.
Then
and everything.
there's clarity. It's clarity, Paul. We want clarity.
Well, I want clarity too. And I agree with you that it's weird and all of that. But him being on IR doesn't give that much clarity to the injury either.
I would agree, other than had they done it, it would signal that you knew at the time it was going to be at least 4 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I think that they didn't know early, and now they don't know when he's returning. And they don't need the roster spot. Stop with the thing like that they need a roster spot. Like if they put him on IR, they could go get somebody. They've got a full stable of cornerbacks. So full that one of them was active but did not play.
I don't care. Put him on IR. Make me feel better.
No,
you already said this last week.
Well, I'm saying it again because apparently it's not getting through because people keep doing the same stuff.
IR just tells us, okay, so they acknowledge the long-term injury. They understand the situation. They know the timetable. There's some knowledge of what is happening.
Well, it's clear they did not know the timetable early.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't retro. It's not like
but it's
MLB
also,
where you could retroactively put a guy on
IR.
IR.
Right. But separate from the IR thing, there was optimism expressed recently. And now, as Robby said, like this week, it's like, yeah, don't even ask about him this week, guys.
Yeah.
So what? What's going? I mean, what happened?
I think it's a very confusing thing because on the Wednesday that he first was on the injury report and didn't play, which we didn't know anything had happened in the game, which is not uncommon. There's surprises every Wednesday from something that a guy suffered on Sunday. I fished around and I heard like, yeah, I don't think it's they don't think it's something that is going to keep him out of that next Sunday.
And here we are 6 weeks
6
later.
weeks ago.
Right. Well, I also thought his response and some of the ways that he answered the questions last week was also kind of weird. Like it was, and he was talking about, did you feel like it was going to be this long? He was like, no. And then, is there any setbacks? I don't know. It's just a weird.
Yeah, he didn't offer anything
lot.
That was informational except that he hadn't been on the grass yet.
Yeah, exactly.
He did seem to enjoy talking to you, though.
Yeah,
I don't know that it would have been any different with anybody else, except that other people might not have kept the conversation going as long.
Don't underestimate your ability to be disliked, Paul.
Well, but as we talked about, like he's got to be one of those guys that's a part of the answer moving forward, just based on what they gave up to go get him and the money that they paid. And right now, the 2 additions that you made in the offseason in your secondary with your corner group have given you next to nothing so far this year. And it doesn't really matter for this year's team. They're 2-8, but what does it mean moving forward? I guess is the more important question because there's a lot of resources that are tied up there with those 2 guys specifically.
Yeah, and we can go find the contract here, but people who want him out, it's ridiculous. Like a contract that you gave him the second year is going to be second-year cap numbers $24 million. To get out of that costs you $34 million. Legarius Sneed's on this team next year.
Exactly.
And needs to be Very good. Are we seriously going to do? So we're going to do this show with me, the only one on camera the whole time.
Yeah,
I think people are loving it. Please, if you're watching,
this is BS.
Please
I
comment
think it's
on
awesome.
how good Joe looks. Try to look skinnier. Concentrate on looking skinny.
Well, if I
pull your chin back, sit higher.
if I can put the
this thing at a
camera
higher
like
angle,
way
sit
higher,
higher.
Yeah, the higher angle is what helps that.
Try
Seriously,
to let
though.
less blood flow to your face.
Yes. But seriously, I mean, Jake, you're producing this show. Don't they have to get on Zoom? This is
No.
BS.
I can send a link if you guys would like to
you
be on
leave it the
camera.
way it
Yeah,
is.
no.
I
All
think
right,
it's
then I'm off
beautiful.
camera. I want off then.
Nope.
I'm not
No,
doing
we
it.
need
Change
the
it.
rating.
Somebody's got to be on there.
Somebody's
We're
got to
looking
be
at
on
this
there.
thing.
You're
Look,
the representative.
No more. I'm not going to be the only one on camera. So here, I'll
We'll
hold
put a
this.
sign on there.
I'll
At least
hold this the whole
your
time.
arm will get tired in 2 seconds.
He didn't even know.
He's
like,
holding up a sheet of
that
paper.
could be a
That
vital.
arm. Let's see how long you can keep your arm up.
That could
I
be
know.
a vital sheet of
10,
information that he's just throwing up. in front of the camera,
9.
too. He didn't even look at it.
This could be like
8.
some obscene
That arm's
Big
already
Joe
shaking.
letter. Like,
That arm's shaking like Tyson.
I got one text that says the Titans know the
Okay,
season is
that's
lost. Why would you
Say
play
it
him
again.
now? Like,
This thing, you don't like. There's 7 games left. You don't.
Yeah,
this
like-
is not how the NFL works. Where you go, well, this season's a wash. We're just going to put a guy on the shelf and we'll see him next September.
Everybody
That's not
stop
how the
playing.
NFL works. I mean, that's just so ridiculous.
I would play
Season's
him.
wash. Everybody wrap it up. We're gonna play our B team.
Like if
There
you're
is no B team.
like if you're the owner or the GM of a team and you invested this much in a player, yeah. As soon as that player can get out there, go out there and earn some of the money we're paying you. Absolutely.
well, also, why
Get
would
some
you?
chemistry with some people who are
That's
going to
the
be here
thing.
next year.
Like, you need to. You
Right.
need to see what he's got too, right? Like,
Yeah, let's show the fans what we
Yeah.
paid for. All of these things. That's just such a ridiculous. Who said that?
it's unnamed texter. I don't know.
Unnamed texter. Come on, do better.
Come on,
Think it,
unnamed
think.
texter.
Unnamed texter.
Unnamed
My
texter.
least favorite person in town is unnamed texter.
texter.
Put your name on it too. If you got a bad opinion, I want your name on it. I wanna
Bengals
talk
are
to you.
4-7.
Tell us your
Should
name.
they just sit down?
Sit down,
Go-
Burrow. Yeah.
to the bench.
Let's
Bring
get back
Jake
to
Browning in there.
that. Jake Browning. Let's get back to him. Really
That-
develop.
Here's an unnamed texter. Joe is the only person I want to watch because he makes me feel better about my own body. My goodness.
I love that.
See, so I'm the only one on camera, and I'm taking strays like
You're
that.
making
My
people
goodness.
feel better. That's beautiful that you read that. I mean, that says a lot about
Should
you.
I do
A
the-
lot of people wouldn't have read that.
Hey,
but
there's
you-
another one that says Joe is the best looking one. If anyone is going to be on camera, let it be Rexrode.
That's
Ooh, okay. So we've got contrasting opinions.
I mean,
here.
let's have a beauty contest poll right now. Everyone,
Really?
Who's winning?
Everyone,
You wanna do that?
everyone
Yeah, okay.
text in who the best looking person on the show is, and I encourage the ladies to participate heavily.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rexrode's got the
Katie's
best
flying-
hair for
Katie's
sure.
flying home, or she'd be
So
all
there's
over
one
that.
vote.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
she'd
Joe,
vote
Joe,
multiple
Joe.
times.
I do have the most hair.
I heard,
Yeah.
by the way, that Katie likes you more for your personality.
She does tell me I'm beautiful inside a lot. I don't know why she always tells me I'm beautiful inside. Why?
Yeah,
Why do I need to be told that?
you can't connect the dots on that.
I
one?
really like your sense of humor, you know,
Oh man.
She's just offering that up randomly.
just to make me feel better. Yeah.
Clint on the text line says, "This is Clint. I have a good question. Paul, wouldn't putting him on IR open up a roster spot for any position? Why wouldn't they want to have more depth in other positions, even if the depth that they have in the secondary is already good?"
They're deactivating people at every position every Sunday. I could go back to this book. I mean, the guys who were. It'll take me a second to get there, but I mean, they deactivated people. They do it every week at positions that. They deactivated Kelly, the running back, Hardy, the cornerback, Snead, Cedric Gray. You want to see Cedric Gray? You're saying, wow, couldn't they get Cedric Gray out there as a result of Snead? They can't because of the numbers. Ajoku, Leroy Watson, David Martin Robinson. So you want it to help one of these guys get active? They're deactivated because you have a roster of, what is it, 48 or 46?
I will say that Cedric Gray at some point this season might not be terrible.
It would be nice to see if he
I
could
don't
play.
know. I mean, I agree, but people are in love with the idea of him. He was terrible in camp. I think he's so far behind. Like maybe down the line they can catch him up to speed, but I think he's one of those guys that's in a redshirt year kind of situation.
Well, if Butch Jones were coaching this team, he'd be taking all those mental reps. He'd be ready to go as soon as he stepped on the field. But, you know,
He would be.
not everybody can be a Butch Jones team.
I mean, James Williams is ahead of him, right? I don't see where he gets defensive snaps. Maybe he gets special team snaps, but special teams has finally settled down a little bit. So I wouldn't mess with special teams until they start making gaffes again, which will probably be this week. But and by the way, you know, I wish the best for Gibbons.
Yeah.
But I think it's significant that Gibbons played 6 snaps in the first half of this game. Gibbons, who is playing out of his mind.
PFF hero.
PFF hero. The Titans finally saw a reason that despite these phenomenal numbers, Jerome Baker was a better option for them in the first half of this game when Gibbons was healthy.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharski with us for the rest of the program. We'll take your thoughts on the text line for which of us is the best looking.
Bradford says it's definitely not Paul. He looks like a mud fence. I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
I mean, bring on your insults, but mud fence, make them make sense.
Yeah, come on. Let's get after it a little bit here. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next.
Northeasterners and Slavs, please contribute.
This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The time is now for the Rex Rant
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
on Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know, obviously they made some plays. We had a hard time staying in front of them. At the end of the day, I'm just sick and tired of our guys getting smashed down there. Smashed. We'll get ready to play Tennessee. We were incredibly outmanned at the end. Had 3-4 guys on the bench in foul trouble. Joke.
Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl joining us.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program.
Too bad the camera's only on me. It was a great thing, a PK with a little fake crying stain, but we can't say because I'm the only one on camera.
I thought you were going to say, too bad that the cameras weren't there when members of Bruce Pearl's team were fighting each other on the airplane.
Oh, my gosh.
That would
Had to get the flight redirected.
I mean, that.
And then they go win.
Respect for him there.
Then they go win a game. How about that?
Sometimes this is what you need. Nice little airline fight.
Yeah. Like put a couple kids on the no-fly list and get your butt back out there. Get into warm-ups. And I'd just like to shout out Kim Dunaway on the YouTube chat. She says, lady here, rankings 1 Joe, 2 Robby, 3 PK. Thank you, Kim Dunaway.
This is hurtful.
Thank you for recognizing my good looks.
Is a devoted member of PaulKuharski.com.
I'm sure because of your looks.
Yes.
I thought that she signed up.
PK, can you do more videos, less articles, please? Let's have a little more video.
We need more content.
Yeah.
I guess it's not for the podcast.
Bradford.
This is a print product fan.
Yeah. Hey, PK, could you not put your mugshot next to your article? Can we just have your name but not the mugshot?
She's a listener, not a viewer. She waits for it to come out on Apple, Spotify, or iHeart. Is not such a big fan of Twitter and YouTube.
And also alters your voice to make it sound less ugly, too. Bradford says
that was an unnecessary shot.
Yeah, she waits for your reading of it in the random Boston accent.
All right, now let's talk about L'Jarius Sneed, folks. All right.
So ridiculous. Will you ever make any effort for it to sound anything like that?
That went British for a minute.
I think that one was
Boston British, like those guys who were bringing over the tea.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Tea
had
Party
adopted
accent.
British
Paul
accent.
Revere, not Paul Kuharski.
We're on fire right now, people. Keep
The Titans are coming. The Titans are coming.
Right.
Now there's a lisp.
Yeah.
Now it's got a little Elmer Fudd to it. We just keep throwing more elements.
Meanwhile, one person's on camera through all this crap.
Good. Yeah.
Bradford says, by the way,
you're winning the handsomeness contest. It sounds like.
Bradford said, if you saw mud fence, you'd be like, WTF? That looks horrible. So now I get it. I get it, Bradford. My rant was actually, I guess we could just keep ranting about our ugliness, but
it is good.
Someone says you're all ugly, but that's okay. Ugly men need loving too. I do want to quickly bring up that Dalton Knecht scored 37 points last night for the LA Lakers.
He did.
Who loves him? Barkley?
And go back to
Barkley absolutely
he does.
Loves Knecht. When they drafted him, he was like, this is a damn steal.
Well, when they drafted him, let's go through quickly some of the, obviously you had the
some of the French,
the international, you had the international guys, but even like Reed Shepherd, number 3, Stephon Castle, the Pistons go with Ron Holland from G League Ignite. You got Donovan Clingan, a rotational big guy. You got Edey, who has looked pretty good with the Grizzlies. There's guys, Devin Carter here. There's some guys here. And as it went on, I know a lot of us, we talked about the next day, we're just like, really? No? Jared McCain? Okay. Where? From Indiana? Okay. Dalton Knecht goes 17. And the biggest reasoning given, and I went back and read some of the stuff, like Jonathan Gavoni from ESPN. Some of these GMs just can't get over his age.
Yeah.
He's 23.
Dude,
he's 23 years old.
Wouldn't you rather have a 23-year-old than a 19-year-old who's immature and who you have to?
Well, so the thinking is, some of it is like, because then that means you're at your ceiling, whereas the 19-year-old can. But watch the guy play basketball. LeBron James did. Can we hear LeBron James last night after Dalton Knecht scored 22 straight points and 37 on the night for the Lakers?
Same I said last year. You know, everybody, on the internet call me a liar all the time. It's just I lie about everything. So, what am I now? Ben said it. I watched him. I watched Tennessee a lot. I did not think he was going to fall to us. I thought it would be impossible. I have no idea how that happened, but very grateful and very happy that he's here. I knew exactly what we was getting when he fell to 17. 17, right?
And what about your other
17?
Pick? And what about your other pick, LeBron?
Yes. Well, it makes up for it.
There is that.
Yes. It makes up for the other pick. Yes.
Your other pick who's only playing home minor league games.
Averaging.
This is not about Bronny. Well, I'm not going to let this turn into a rip on Bronny.
Connect's fantastic.
No, it's. I mean, I hate that the Lakers got him. You know,
Yeah.
But good for him. And it's just watch. I mean, again, these are general managers. Their entire job is to pick basketball players. And if you watch Dalton Connect, which obviously we watched a lot of them last year, some more than others, there was no question the guy was going to be a bucket in the NBA. 6'6", jumps out of the gym, and he shoots at such a high clip. There was no question in my mind. I thought he was going to be a top 10 pick. He went 17. It's and again, that being the only reason, age. I mean, I'm gonna track all these guys, and I'll bet you that his NBA career ends up better than most, if not all these guys. Most. Maybe there's a couple of these guys. Who knows? So Sar. Well, I don't know. I'm not saying that. I mean, it goes by need. I mean, I don't know. The international guys, how they're going to turn out. It's still early, but like the Pistons with Ron Holland. What do you do? Pistons, number 5. You should have taken him. And right now, the Detroit Pistons, if they had Connect on their team,
I know.
Like they're actually not terrible. Ron Holland.
I like how LeBron made that answer about him. I told you what I
Well, he
said,
did though, but he's not wrong.
But it's Connect scored 37. Aye. Aye.
You're
Ron
just a
Hader.
bitter old ugly man.
Wow.
But we wouldn't know because I'm the only one on camera.
615-737-1025.
Hey, Joe, who's on camera?
Our phone number. We'll have more with Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com the next hour, talking all things Tennessee Titans. We welcome your questions as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com with us here for the next hour on Robby and Rexrode, talking all things Tennessee Titans. We welcome your questions, as always, on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The best question for PK during today's segments will receive a $50 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card. So make sure that you send your questions in 615-737-1025. Paul Kuharski, brought to you by Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa and Parman Energy. Visit parmanenergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution.
It can be a comment too, though, right?
Sure.
In theory. Okay, so here's one. Give us your name. Texter says, why does this show always devolve into ridiculous, immature banter whenever PK comes on? Don't let him bring you guys down. I'm still amazed by his childish name calling of Jared last week. I think that should be a contender. I think it's a fair point.
That nickname has
we're a mature
off.
show.
It's
we're a mature show.
It stormed the city, that nickname.
Stillbilly's a pretty good one.
I mean,
Stillbilly's
he
good.
should get a Stillbilly tattoo.
I think
pretty good.
And put out T-shirts. I've made him money.
That might have been a reference, though, to like your, like talking about his body. I mean, you're better than that, Paul. Come on. You can talk about my body.
Everybody's
a glorious, majestic thing.
I mean, he led me down the hillbilly. He led me down the hillbilly road. And
that sounds like a country song line. He led me down the hillbilly road.
That's what we need. More Rexrode's body, more Rexrode singing on the program.
Yes,
what everybody's
please.
clamoring for.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
No, we're sophisticated here, Chief. Pay attention.
Will Levis with a good performance again on Sunday, the 98-yard touchdown to NWI. We talked about, stacking back-to-back performances together with you on Monday with him. I guess my question now, if you're a Titans fan, if you're a member of the front office, if you're Brian Callahan, how does it influence how you view the big picture of him right now? Because I think we would probably all agree that a couple weeks ago, it was trending towards the Titans having to find a different answer at quarterback next season. Maybe that's still the case. Maybe that still ends up being what they do at the end of the year. But have the last 2 weeks and the way that he's played influenced that at all, do you think, as the Titans view the quarterback position moving forward here?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're stopping at certain stages and saying, well, what do we think about him now for next year? What do we think about him now for next year? But I think from a fan and media perspective, things certainly feel better after these 2 games than they've felt at any point during the season. I mean, I did a piece looking at these last 2 games versus the first 2, which were especially bad, and the first 5 before he got hurt. And, the numbers generally don't lie. His passer rating, in those first 2 was 67.3. His passer rating in these last 2 is 103.2. Well, you'll take a guy who could put up a 103.2. I mean, his EPA is positive in these 2 games. It was not positive in the first 2 and the first 5. So, I think he's been impressive in the last 2. I think he did a great job taking advantage of the blitzes and the zeros. He kind of proudly said, we did so well against their zero that we got them out of it. And look, that's a lot of progress and it feels good. And if he could keep making that progress, does the decision become more difficult, or does he get himself into maybe more than the mix next year? I think absolutely. Here's the thing. He's had 2 good games and they've averaged 15 points.
Yeah.
That it's got to translate into better offensive results. And maybe that's the next step here. Minnesota's a really good defensive team. But, I mean, they threw a 98-yard touchdown pass, and besides that, they had 2 field goal drives. As good as
they
it
had
all
another
felt,
TD pass taken off the board. But
they did. But as good as all that still would have been 20 points, which, is better than what they do, but still not what you would expect from a big offensive day for the Titans, right? They've got to find a way for this stuff to translate into actual tangible offense. And actual tangible offense comes in the NFL in the form of points.
Yeah, I think I think this week I was wondering if there would be a little bit of overreacting, and there may be a little bit of overreacting to how well he's played. He played well. I think that was his best game, his last game, but it's
a
still
testament to how bad he was.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I do think that if he can stack and whether they score more or not, because I mean, they have a lot of issues, right? I mean, it's just like just like wins are not a quarterback stat. I mean, this offensive lack of production it's a collective stat.
Absolutely.
Right. But if he keeps doing this, then if this is what he is, then I think that he's at least a possibility as your guy next year, with the idea of you just don't feel. I mean, it's still only if you don't feel great about other possibilities.
Yep.
Right. I mean, or he's going to have to get, I think, quite a bit better than this to get into at least in my opinion, to get into okay, maybe he is the answer. I think he still is, like, he's getting his way to, like, maybe he's another year answer.
Yeah, not a long-term answer, but at least a short-term answer with an option still to become the long-term answer. So you go into next year like you went into this year, but maybe with a little bit more optimism. And if you give him a right tackle, and if you give him a young receiver, and if people play better, which I think you have to expect some of these guys to play better. Another year of Latham, another year of Skoronski, hopefully Cushenberry back. Some offensive line continuity with the new right tackle, maybe a new right guard. I don't know. And with a defense that's doing more of the things that this defense hasn't done, I don't want to paint rosy, but
sounds awesome.
You could see a scenario where things turn a little bit.
Yeah, you could. What you've brought up is really fascinating to me about this team. And we talked about it a little bit on Monday. Like, it hasn't really mattered what the quarterback play has looked like. They've always ended up pretty much around the same thing, with the exception of the Miami game, where the opposing quarterback play and offense was so bad that they got past the 30-point threshold. Levis played horrible early in the year. They still ended up right around 17 points. He's played pretty well the last 2 weeks. What'd they score? 17 in LA and 13 this week? I mean, it kind of all looks the same from a point production standpoint at the end of it. So, I mean, the thing, I would agree with you, Joe. Like, Sunday was clearly the best that he's played this year. You can make the argument it's one of the best that he's played in his career. And yet and still throughout the game, there are times and stretches and drives where they're just getting nothing done offensively. And he's involved in that too. So it's been better. It's been encouraging to see him respond after coming back in the lineup. I still don't know that it changes my thought on him overall yet. I need to see him do this for the rest of the year.
And the one thing that was most encouraging about this game, I thought, you remember we talked about it a month into the season. I wrote the piece, Where Are the Wild Throws? And we talked about the thing that made him most exciting in his rookie year was that he made these throws that you were like, whoa, and they were splashed throughout the season. There were a lot of them against Atlanta, obviously, but he made some in the Miami game with the comeback, and here and there in Pittsburgh. He made a couple, right? And we really, really, like, not exaggerating, have not seen them. Well, there they were, I mean, even with the safety falling down on the Nick Westbrook-Akine throw for 98 yards, he had to put it there, and he put some distance on it. The throw to Bryce Oliver off his back foot under pressure, that's exactly the kind of throw we're talking about.
Yep.
The throw to Ridley that got called back for the 51-yard touchdown was that kind of throw. There was another one to Nick. There was another one to Ridley. And all of a sudden you're like, there they are. There they are. I mean, if that's the beginning of something, well, that's the quality that we all saw in him that we thought gave him a chance to be a guy. And so I thought, what a revelation to see that stuff. Like, where's it been? Don't take it away again. Find a way to let that be.
Yeah, and then also I think both of these games, I think this is true.
He made a couple in Los Angeles.
But he hasn't, he has at least, again, 2-game sample, but he doesn't seem to be putting the ball, not only not doing the oh my God plays, but even really not putting the ball in harm's way. I mean, that's a big change.
Yeah, that's the big,
from early year. We're like, is he ever going to stop doing these things, right? And
so you could say he's gone from, like, the first request was don't do boneheaded things. Seems to be beyond that, and now even advancing beyond that to, like, not doing boneheaded things and making some excellent throws.
Okay, so he's an all-pro. No, we all agree. There we go.
But 15-point average. So,
Exactly.
Still a significant step to make.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your questions for PK on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll get to some of those coming up next. More conversation on Will Levis. Plus, something that continues to mystify me about what we've seen from the Titans this year that I want to get PK's thoughts on as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville this Saturday for MTSU football. Blue Raiders taking on New Mexico State with a kickoff time of 1:30 and the pregame beginning at noon. MTSU football coverage on 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville, presented by Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. Paul Kuharski with us, talking all things Tennessee Titans. We'll get back into Levis conversation here in a few minutes. I do want to get your thoughts on this, PK, because we talked about this earlier this week. We talked about Nicholas Petit-Frere heading into the season. There was obviously a limited sample size on him, but what we saw from him as a rookie was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. He was serviceable as a rookie. Last year, generally a wash. He got in for a little bit, had the gambling stuff going on, then he got injured, and there just wasn't much to show for it last year. What he is now compared to what he was as a rookie, like, he has gotten so much worse. And it's a little mystifying to me how this has happened. So I guess my question for you is, how have we all either misevaluated Nicholas Petit-Frere, or how has he gotten so much worse over the last couple of years here? And I don't want to over-exaggerate what he did his rookie year, because it wasn't like he was great, but he was
average,
fine.
at least average.
Right. He was fine. It was way better than what we've seen now. I'm stunned by what I've seen, how bad it's been from him this year.
Do you agree, PK? Because some people say he was bad all along.
No,
I
I don't think he was this bad as a rookie by any means. I mean, you remind me who else was on that line. There's certain, the left tackle was busy being a disaster then, and we were focused on that, right? Was that
yeah, I mean, that was so that was the year with that was the oh my gosh, who predated Dillard? It was
Daly.
Yeah, that was the Dennis Daly year. Radin's moving around.
To which I famously said, "Hey guys, don't worry. It can't get worse than Dennis Daly."
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we all said. And then Dillard came in. I mean, I'm surprised that he's this bad. And I asked Callahan on Sunday, I know he and his dad obviously had input into what they did. And they did bring in people. I mean, Sadiq Charles would have given them some more flexibility with who could have played outside. They brought in Christensen, right? I'm going to forget a guy or two here. Not premier guys by any means, but some guys where you thought somebody would have, Watson, some guys where somebody would have emerged to give you some options. And in Bill Callahan's career, that's worked. Here's where, though, and I don't mean this to be a picking on Rand thing, but I asked him, did you get enough information from Rand? Rand was around to see Petit-Frere last year. Rand was around to see Burks last year. And you guys were talking about them sticking with Burks through the first 4 games of this year. And that's a place where I feel like the GM should be saying, hey, I saw these 2 guys last year, and you shouldn't be counting on much from them, or he should feel the trend coming with those guys. There's no reason they should have been counting on Burks in those first 4 games the way they did. Now, that's on Callahan. He had him for camp and all of that stuff. But I wonder what the GM said to the coach coming in about 2 guys like that.
Yep.
And if he gave him a fair, accurate assessment. Callahan passed that off pretty casually in terms of NPF. But it is an amazing regression. I agree. And the Titans have too many of those going on. And you blame that on player development. I mean, at a certain point, you say the guy's not very good. And Bill Callahan gets the benefit of the doubt through this first year for sure. But he hadn't been able to do anything with the guy.
Well, the thing with NPF to me is like, I talked about this earlier this week, but obviously if the gambling suspension, it's like, well, that's dumb. It happens. These players get on their phones and they, it's a mistake. It's too bad. And then he barely played. He gets hurt. Okay. But I will say, watching him play now, and then going back to the beginning of the year when we were all kind of blown away that he's doing this stupid fantasy football crap, it does seriously make me question how serious he is to try to be an NFL player. But then also, is that something that they should know in the building? They should have communicated, because it's hard for me to separate those things now.
Right. Where's
his performance
for him?
Yeah. His performance, and then his tone deaf decision to do that after a gambling suspension. Yeah. It's hard for me to buy that he's, to me, he's just an unserious NFL player to me. I can't, right?
Great. Unserious NFL player. Fans worry about their inability to monitor that before you worry about L'Jarius Sneed's commitment. Where's NPF's commitment? That's a guy that seems uncommitted. He's playing, but he seems uncommitted. I'd worry about that before I'd worry about L'Jarius Sneed and his pace at coming back from a quad injury that we don't know the severity.
But you're saying in terms of Sneed's desire to play, that's what people are trying to question.
Yeah,
that's
NPF is
fair.
playing, and I question his desire to play. L'Jarius Sneed is not playing, and I'm not questioning his desire to play.
He should desire not being publicly humiliated like he was last week.
Yes, the pride and the paycheck and all of the motivations that should come. And you're going out there and get embarrassed. I think NPF has more in him than he's showing. I wonder about his you used a great turn of phrase there. I've already forgotten what it was. It was so impactful on me.
Unserious player?
Unserious player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took the succession.
Well, the thing, like,
I said it right here on camera.
Well, and look, we talked about this in the offseason. I didn't feel great about Petit Frere heading into the year. But to your point earlier in the week, Joe, like if you're Bill Callahan looking at the film, what you've really got to go on is his first year. And you look at it, I think you probably come to the same conclusion that we came to, which is, all right, there's some good there.
Serviceable.
There's
serviceable.
some bad there.
He's my worst guy. I should be all right.
But there's enough to work with. And what he's put on display this year, you can't work with
regression.
that. Like he can't.
Now, we were talking about
do the
this
job.
in the press room. He'll wind up, he's under contract next year. I can't imagine he's here. He'll wind up somewhere and we'll all be stunned. The way Dillard got a contract, the way Daly got a contract. He'll get a contract somewhere and he'll probably wind up playing 3 games and getting
He'll be
buried.
crushing it for Vrabel.
And getting
protecting
buried.
Tannehill.
Yeah, with some no-name offensive line coach that we've never heard of that he promoted, that he hired because he had a great interview. Knocked Vrabel off of his socks. Some tight end coach from Idaho State.
The best interview I've ever heard.
Yeah. Even better than Jason Hoteling. He'll resurface because there's such a lack of offensive linemen around, but he won't do anything.
Yeah, I can see that.
Jake and Greenbrier, always good here on the text line, driven by WilsonCounty.com. He says, on Levis, deep ball's pretty. He's a tough player. He's got the physical tools. He's improving, may continue to get better over time. However, his sense for pressure, ability to evade sacks will forever prevent him from being a top 12 QB in this league. No improvement there whatsoever since entering the league. Cannot be consistently efficient on offense with a QB with those flaws. Your thoughts on that, PK?
Totally possible. I think it can get slightly better. And if the protection gets better, he'll face those issues less frequently. And if he's 13th, can they be the same sort of team that went to the AFC Championship game with a play action heavy, run centered, great defense team? Yes. So until you stumble into Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whoever, is that the ceiling for you? Yes. Now, some people will say, no, it's got to be Super Bowl or nothing. Go for the number 1 pick. I disagree with that. That's just too wide a gulf. If you can be a good competitive team with that 13th quarterback in the league and a solid run game and a solid defense, that's fine. The problem is that you oversold, what you have in Callahan, and we helped them oversell it. New age, modern offense.
Yeah, but 13th, man. I mean, 13th is not bad. You take that. You take a top 15 QB.
Especially when you start listing them off. Like,
that's a lot. There's a lot of good QBs. There's
good
QBs in the late teens.
But let's be clear, we're a long way away from that, right?
Yes,
now.
Also, no doubt. But to the point though, how much can you improve that? What Jake's talking about there? It's an interesting question. I mean, it's not one of those things people talk about as much. How much can you improve pocket awareness, pocket, navigation?
Yeah,
because sometimes I don't think he's always bad, but definitely there are times when it's like, man, he just isn't feeling it, and
I don't know.
But he stands in. The one thing I don't think you can improve is
tough.
when you start seeing ghosts, and you like we saw with Mariota later in his career. And he is not that. And that's
he's tough. He'll stand in and take a hit.
Yeah.
And one of his best qualities is his ability to make a throw with people on him. Right.
Yes.
So you're trading some of that off. Like, well, hey, he doesn't have good pocket sense, so he doesn't make those plays. But he does have the capacity to make some plays with people on him.
He's courageous,
which a lot of other quarterbacks can't do. when he's at his best.
But to Jake's point there, like think about the really good quarterbacks that have come through this league recently. Like Brady's not athletic. Brady can navigate the pocket really well.
Yeah,
Mahomes
exactly.
can navigate the pocket
Great feel.
really, really well.
Now, he didn't look so hot on these RPOs. He looked a little
Yeah.
indecisive, right? If they could continue to work with him on those, and he could have 5 of those a game that are going to turn into more 50-50 plays where it seemed like he just ran, right? I mean, I think that would be an interesting wrinkle. Don't let that be game specific. Let that be something that you're growing into your offense.
One of those read options didn't go so well for him. He got just obliterated.
Hand it off, buddy. Hand it off.
Just obliterated. We'll have more with PK coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com with us, taking your thoughts on the Titans as well. Send in your best questions for PK on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Bobby in Mount Juliet, does PK think Mike Vrabel getting a job somewhere else will make Amy regret choosing Rand over Mike? We talked earlier in the show, PK. Right now, it looks like there's a potential for quite a bit of openings to be out there in terms of coaches in the NFL. There's already 2 that are open in the Jets and the Saints. I can handpick a few more that I'm pretty confident are going to be open at the end of the year. So, number one, how do we think Vrabel fits into all that? And what do you make of Bobby's question there about if he gets another job, does Amy regret choosing Rand over Mike?
A lot of Vrabel hype going on right now, which is easy to generate when you're not in a big job and jobs open early and speculation about, and there are a lot of bad teams in the league. So a lot of speculation. It's funny. I think Diana Rossini wrote it, but last year was collaborative guys and now it's culture building. Well, the collaborative guys all got hired. And now the culture guys, 2 of them are unemployed. So it's easy for them to plant like, hey, what everybody's looking for is me.
Yeah.
Belichick and Vrabel are
I think
telling people.
But there is, well, it's kind of like the offensive guys, right? That's the hot thing. But then like a Dan Campbell is like, see the culture guys, see? Right? And even like a D'Amico Ryans.
Quinn has come in as a defensive guy.
Quinn has come in. And
Mike McDonald as a defensive guy has come in and has done a good job.
Got to be creative going to find your offensive people. I hope he does that wherever he lands. I think he would be steering clear if he can of bad ownership situations with some of these teams that are, Jets certainly is a tough ownership thing. Look, if he goes somewhere and starts 6-2 and the Titans are bad again at the beginning, I don't know what Amy's going to think, but I know what the fan base's reaction is going to be. And that's going to be, I don't know if Amy puts earplugs in or what, but she's going to be unavoidably hearing a lot of noise.
But by the way, the framing there, choosing Vrabel over Rand, I mean, she could have kept them both in their job.
Yeah,
that suggests that it was. I don't believe it was like this Rand and Vrabel hating each other power struggle. It's either it's him or me. It wasn't that. I mean, she chose.
Could have said, Mike,
she chose to fire Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, we've said this before, and the tone that came out of there was like Mike was the boss and she couldn't handle it. Like she's the boss. She could have said to Mike, like, here's how it needs to be going forward. Make this work and reform in this way or fashion. Now they made it like.
And also,
Mike
what did you mean when you said that at New England? What did you mean,
so
Mike?
strong-willed that they couldn't control him and needed to get him out, which I think is a sign of weakness from ownership.
Especially because he's such a pussycat.
Yeah. Chris and Dixon on the text line. If a change is made in the front office, would you expect them to hire someone with prior experience? Who is the guy that teams may be expecting to target this offseason? I want to build off that question too. Why do you think that GMs that have experience, why do you think that that's so hard to get a second GM job?
They don't get recycled. Coaches get recycled. GMs don't get recycled.
Yeah, I don't know why it is, but most, I mean, they all flame out in the end. So I don't think it's different for GMs and for coaches in terms of the endings. But you end badly drafting, and they think that you've lost your touch, and everybody's looking for the new hot thing. I don't know why it's that way. I'm sure there's been something good written about it that I know.
I've even looked for that, and it's just, and people talk about it, but it's like, like coaches, it's like schemes can pass you by, or people kind of realize you're just not good with people, whatever it is.
Tom Telesco got rehired.
Like if you're
quickly.
a GM,
that was a huge exception.
It does happen sometimes, but like if you're a GM who your track record is more good than bad, things got bad at the end. Like, I mean, I do think that like John Robinson, and I understand he's getting paid right now to do nothing. Yeah. But like, I would look at his entire track record and still think that there could be a team that could be interested in him at some point. His end was bad. His end was bad, but the whole picture, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like, you ask the question of why things got bad, right?
I mean, that was his.
Are you being
that was his-
facetious?
yeah. Well, I'm
well,
being
that
facetious.
was maybe one
Chris
draft.
Ballard did okay in COVID, but John Robinson didn't.
There's an overrated GM.
No, I know, but he never used COVID as an excuse, and his COVID draft was actually pretty good.
Big win for them over the weekend, by the way. As far as like if the Titans made a change at front office, would you expect them to hire someone with prior experience? I don't know. Like it just typically doesn't go that way.
This is part of what scares me. Like who, if they're making a new hire there, who's advising her?
Like
the
in
league again,
right? Like with coaches, we talk about people who are out there. You know, there's Vrabel, there's Belichick, there's Ben Johnson, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like with GMs, I mean, there's always people coming up in organizations. But like the Niners, they're 2 and 3 are now have jobs.
Yep.
So it's not like there's this obvious pool of but if they could get this guy,
Like are people going to start raiding the Lions front office? Is that kind of the next
could
thing that
be.
you follow?
They've drafted incredibly well. Yeah, maybe. I don't even know who their number 2 is under Holmes, but he's
there's
been great.
There's always good lists that come out that remind you of who, which right hand men are doing well. I've seen Vrabel paired with Catherine Raish, of the Browns, who's no longer Raish. She has a married name. Forgive me for not knowing it. But again, who's advising Amy about who to hire? Burke. I mean, Burke's a fine businessman. He's not a football person. So who's the football person that's advising her? Her friend in Detroit.
Your buddy Chad Brinker?
Well, if he's still here, he's the person. Probably.
Fire Rand and then Chad hires. That'd be quite a turn of
Fire Rand.
Et tu, Brute. Et tu, Brinquet. Stab him in the back.
If you fire Rand and keep Chad's probably doing the job.
Probably
could
so.
be.
Yeah, could be.
But unless he is more like a Steve Underwood figure here, and then he's
Steve
hiring
Underwood
the GM.
figure is Burke.
Yeah, but more of a
well, he's the
more of
football Underwood. He's already the football Underwood. It's the personnel question, but he likes personnel.
Go hire Joe Douglas. He drafted well with the Jets.
Joe Douglas did draft well. It's pretty amazing that they fired Joe Douglas after when they fired Saleh, they said, this is the best roster we've ever assembled at the beginning of the year. The best roster we ever assembled. Then you fire the coach saying he didn't do much with the best roster ever assembled. And then a few weeks later, you fire the guy who assembled the best roster that you've ever assembled.
And you wanted to fire the quarterback who everybody thought was going to turn everything around.
Where
too.
do we think that story's coming from? It's got to be coming from Saleh, right?
I would think so.
Saleh, but
Saleh.
yes. That's a fair guess. It's a fair guess.
I don't know. It's pretty wild.
The Jets.
I mean,
the Jets have loose lips. That organization,
They do.
They tell all.
Especially when you're no longer with the organization.
But in all seriousness, like you look at Joe Douglas, like it's a kind of a microcosm of where the GM thing is at. Like you look at their record with him as GM, and they're awful. Like his record is terrible. And then you look at his drafting. Like go back and look at their drafts the last like 5 years.
Solid.
It's unreal. Like so the hit
there's
rate
a
they've had
GM
on
that
some
could
of
get recycled, like based on the personnel part. The dysfunction part, do you dismiss as being, well, the Jets are just dysfunctional?
Ownership, and then also, I mean, look, you can get anybody being enamored with Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but clearly he tripled the dysfunction, right?
Yes.
I mean,
and that was an ownership decision.
Yeah.
Well, what are you talking about, Joe? He said last year that they got to stop getting the things that have nothing to do with football.
Yeah, we need to like focus on ball here, like me.
615-737-1025. One more segment with PK coming up next. More of your questions to get to on our text line. Keep them coming. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com with us, taking your thoughts on all things Tennessee Titans, 615-737-1025. PK, we talked to you about the Viking fan takeover on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Said it was either at or near the top of what you've seen from opposing fans. We had a big conversation about this on Tuesday. A lot of people weighing in. And I guess my question is, like, you know, it's always been, it's not like Nashville is some new thing here where people don't like coming here and it's a destination city and all those things. So we've seen a lot of opposing fans in that stadium before. Outside of the obvious of winning more football games, which is clearly something that they've got to do, which is going to help the attendance problem and the fan takeover and all that stuff. I was thinking back to 2008. They had a big game against Pittsburgh, and they won that game. Keith Bullock stomped on the terrible towel, all those things. There are a ton of Pittsburgh fans in the building for that game. And I realized Pittsburgh's a big fan base. They travel well. But I feel like this is a fan base, this is a team that's always, to some degree, maybe with the exception of the first couple of years in Philadelphia, had to deal with opposing fans coming in the building. Is that, Brian Callahan was asked about it. He said all the right things. Does that bother the Titans? Should that bother the Titans? Is it fixable as they move forward here with what the new stadium coming in?
I mean, they can't let it bother them because there's nothing they can do about it. So I think they'd give you the controllables thing. The lease is 30 years for the first building, and it's going to be 30 years for the second building. You think about it, 60 years time, that's not even a lifetime for somebody that's born at the beginning of it. So maybe 60 years in, you've got one generation of people that are lifetime Titans fans, and it's still a huge transplant city. So Joe's kid comes and he's a Lions fan still from his dad's affection or roots in Michigan. And there's just a huge population of people here that are that. So I think outside of it being a bad football team where there are a lot of tickets available and a great city to come to for a weekend, which we all factor in, we probably don't factor in enough the amount of transplants that come here and the roots. We know the roots everybody has for their NFL team. That's why Red Zone and Sunday Ticket are such a big deal. You want to see the team from where you came from. So everybody knows how many people have come here from California or from wherever. So if you come from California and you have a Rams or a Raiders or a Niners roots, nobody's giving that up easily. Now, maybe your kids turn towards the Titans if the Titans are good, or it's a secondary thing, but it's just not the same. And it's years before it becomes the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's we talked. People get very passionate about this topic as we have.
They're fired up.
My whole thing with fans and like the scene the other day. If the product is this bad, then I can't blame anyone. I can't blame anyone for making some money, even if it's the Vikings fans. Your team's bad,
but I think if they were good, that still probably happens.
Well, that's where
maybe not to the same degree, but to a big degree.
Well, sure. It's like the Buffalo game, right? Which was maybe 25% Buffalo fans. Okay. Maybe 30, but there were a lot in there. And there were Titans fans are like, but this pays my whole year. Okay. I mean, I can still understand other Titans fans being like, yeah, but it's a huge game. Like these are contenders in the AFC. Like this is, we need you in there, not a Buffalo fan in your seat. So I get that. But now with the way it is, sell. Don't go. Don't blame you at all.
Oh, no. I don't think you have any obligation to go whatsoever. I think the Titans have tried to make some efforts in terms of where the tickets go. I think that's hopeless and crazy. You can't control. You have no business what I do with my ticket. It's free market economy. It's an American fundamental. It's just the nature of this market. It's part of what you have. A tourist city, great place to visit. A lot of things that make it a great place makes it unfavorable for you in terms of filling the stadium with people in your color.
How many sacks is Danico Autry going to end up with on Sunday?
It's another reunion.
I've been thinking
another
about that all
reunion
week.
game.
You remember when he used to play against the Colts?
Yeah.
After they let
he'd
him
tear
go.
them up.
I know it's not exactly the same situation, but he's got 3 sacks in 5 games this year. I mean, go back and watch. What was the game that he just wrecked? Was it the?
Well, he just had a big play though.
It was the Lions game. It was the Jets game. He just wrecked the Jets. Had 2 sacks in that game.
It is different though, like you said, because obviously he like the Colts screwed that up.
Yeah.
And nice job, Ballard. I think he wanted out of here, right? That's how it read to me.
Yeah,
like
I
they
think
would have liked to have signed him, and he's like, yeah.
Look,
But
they,
I'm just
they would have
saying-
taken Al-Shaair and him, and Ridley wouldn't be here. Is the way they made it sound. I mean, Ridley was a plan B off losing those 2 defenders.
What would their record be?
Probably saying
2-8.
3-7. Maybe he could have got a couple sacks.
Another win in there.
And he
Yeah.
did get suspended for the first 6 games of the year. So there's that
4.
too. 4 games, excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, that offensive line right now going up against that front, and we'll see what Will Anderson looks like. He didn't play last week, so I don't know what his status is going to be this week, but it's got the potential to be a doozy for the Titans on Sunday.
I think I'm not calling a win or anything, but I think in 2 games against Houston, the Titans will play them surprisingly close in one or win it.
Okay.
This divisional familiarity and all that weird things happen in division.
Hot take from a hot man, according to Dana Franks on the YouTube chat, who ranks you number 1 and says, "I like a mature, grumpy man."
Is this a man?
A
or
very
woman?
sexy show
Is
we've
this
had
a male
today.
or female Dana?
I don't know, but Dana,
Dana,
he or she likes a mature,
identify
grumpy man.
yourself with an M or an F.
There's a picture here, but it's hard for me to. I don't know how to work.
Joe can't.
I don't know how to work the internet.
Joe doesn't know how to look at a picture and identify a man.
But when
or
you're
a
this
woman.
beautiful, it
This is a
doesn't matter.
newsflash on our way out that Joe can't. Here's what I'll say about my looks.
Please.
I don't have broad appeal, but to the 8 to 10% of the population that I appeal to, I have very strong appeal.
Yes.
The people that are into me, Joe,
Yeah.
are really, really.
there's people that
into me.
have weird
all of
fetishes.
your people
Yes.
are lukewarm.
Yes.
All the people that are into you are like, yeah, he's all right.
BK, thank you for being with
The
us.
bald lovers love you.
You're welcome. I always appreciate your appreciation, Robbie, and we know
Yes.
what goes with that.
We
Some unappreciation. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks.
Jason Big Joe up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.